Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning. Welcome to the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. And thank you especially for members of the news media who have come here to hear this museum's latest exciting announcement about a new species. And we do so proudly with the Field Museum in Chicago, Illinois. I would like to, before I make my remarks, introduce our scientist here, who is central to the discovery with her colleagues at the Field Museum. I'd like to recognize both Dr. Dan Solomon, who is Dean of the College of Sciences at NC State University. Dan, if you would just rise and be recognized. Thank you. And also to his right is Dr. Phil Carter, immunobiologist and an expert in veterinary medicine, who is the chair of the Museum's Advisory Commission for Governor McCrory. Thank you both. You'll see the connection of NC State as I make my introduction. So in the world of biological sciences, one of the great quests surely is to fully define the biodiversity of the planet today. And that involves knowing what lives where, and how what's living where may be moving in longitude or latitude or altitude, both due to natural and human-forced processes. But the same, and you may recall that last summer we had an amazing discovery, in that case with the Smithsonian Institution, the National Museum of Natural History, on the discovery of a rodent, of a raccoon-like mammal that had somehow evaded human discovery in the cloudy mountaintops of the Andes in South America. And on that exciting day like the one today, Dr. Roland Kays of the museum, who is also joint appointed with NC State University, made the discovery and made the announcement jointly with the Smithsonian. Today, this quest to define biodiversity takes us back to the Cretaceous, the period of geologic time that ends the Mesozoic era and is precisely ended by the moment 64.9 million years ago when an asteroid collided with planet Earth and hit the Yucatan area of Central America, and in so doing annihilated all large animal life, including all the dinosaurs. If we pull back from 64.9 million years ago, back into the late Cretaceous, we have a struggle for who's going to be top predator. And you know, at this museum we have one of those top predators, Acrocanthosaurus, that's in display in the part of the museum that opened in 2000. It has its own very special sort of gallery. But today we hear about a discovery which is incredible because of the 60 years since we made a similar discovery about this time in Earth history, about a top predator, a predator that would, not until its species died out, would there be space in the food chain for the tyrannosaurs to become the king of the tyrant lizards, as Tyrannosaurus means. So we're very proud and excited and delighted, and certainly myself as a geologist and as the museum director, Emlyn Costa, a doctorate in geology, that we have here this morning Dr. Lindsay Zano, who is our vertebrate paleontologist, who often in the summers spends weeks upon end in the dry terrain of Utah, and has been making a very exciting discovery, which is now defined in the scientific literature as of this week. Dr. Lindsay Zano is not only the head of our vertebrate paleo laboratory on the top floor of this Nature Research Center, but also a joint appointment in biological sciences, a research professor at NC State University, which is why I introduced the two gentlemen to you at the beginning of my remarks. So for the exciting announcement of the details of the what and the why and the how and the significance of it, please welcome Dr. Lindsay Zano to the stage.
Good morning. On behalf of the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and NC State University, I am so excited to announce to you this morning our very newest member of the dinosaur family tree and one of the largest predatory dinosaurs that has ever roamed North America, Siats meekerorum. And there he or she is. So to understand the significance of Seotc, we all need to take a trip back in time. And not just geologic time, but back when we were all kids sitting around playing with plastic models of dinosaurs. I'm sure we all remember these days. These plastic models of dinosaurs that we used to play with are some of the most famous dinosaurs that have ever been known. And they come from 2 time periods in Earth's history. About half of them come from a time period known as the late Jurassic, and that's about 150 million years ago. And these are the dinosaurs that we know and love, like Stegosaurus, Brachiosaurus, and even Apatosaurus, which we used to call Brontosaurus. I'm sure we all remember Brontosaurus. The top predator that lived here in the late Jurassic was an animal called Allosaurus. And even though this was the big guy on the block back there, Allosaurus would have weighed in at about 1.5 tons or so in size. Now, the other half of the dinosaurs that we all used to play with come from a very different time period in Earth's history, known as the very, very latest Cretaceous. And that was about 66 million years ago. And these are those fuzzy dinosaurs we know and love, like Triceratops, and of course, the most famous dinosaur that's ever been described, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, T-Rex was the top dog in the late Cretaceous ecosystems of North America, and was pretty much the only large predator roaming around at that time. Now, for scientists, the big question that's been on our mind for over half a century is this huge gap in the fossil record, over 60 million years, where we had no good fossils of the giant predators that lived and roamed in Western North America during this time. It's kind of just left us with a big gap in our understanding of predatory dinosaur evolution. Well, with that in mind, my very good colleague Pete Makovicki from the Field Museum and I started an expedition to try and discover the dinosaurs that were living in that gap in the North American record. And to do that, we went out searching the hillsides of rocks that we call the mustn't-touch-it member of the Cedar Mountain Formation. Now, these are these drab gray badlands that you can see at the base of this mesa. And these rocks were deposited here in North America at the dawn of the late Cretaceous, the very beginning of the late Cretaceous. Now, the fun part of doing this is when you go to a new area to search for new animals, you're never quite sure, is this going to turn out to be great? Are we going to find great things? Or is this going to turn out to be a big bomb? Well, within just a couple of days of searching these hillsides, I stumbled across the bones of a large animal eroding out of the hillsides of one of these sort of popcorny-like hills. And I looked down at those bones, and they were very thin and very large, and that indicated to us right away that we had something huge, and we had something really significant. And so from that very, very moment, we knew we were onto something big. So just how big is Seotc? Well, the number 1 largest animal that's ever lived in North America who was a predator is Tyrannosaurus Rex. This was an animal that was named in 1905, so over a century ago, and it weighs in at well over 6 tons. In 1950, scientists found the next biggest animal. It's our very own terror of the South, who you can go ogle at in the Dinosaur Hall in the main building across the way. And Acrocanthosaurus was, we believe, an adult specimen that weighed well over 5 tons. So what about Seotc? Well, Seotc we're estimating from the individual that we have, and you can see some of those bones right here, at well over 4 tons in size and over 30 feet long. But there's a catch to this, and that is that the bones that we found of Seotc actually come from a juvenile, okay, so an animal that is not fully grown. This means that there's a little bit of room to go here, and we think of a more likely estimate is that Seotc would have been about a 5-ton animal when it was fully grown and would have easily vied with Acrocanthosaurus for the number 2 slot in North America. To give you some perspective on how rare these types of discoveries are and why we're so excited about this, it's been a good 63 years since we've discovered an animal that was a predator in North America of this size. So we can now place Seats in our time scale right here at the beginning of the late Cretaceous, right in the middle of that gap at about 98 million years ago. Now the interesting thing here is that when we found this big predator in these rocks in Utah, we thought, well, there's two possibilities here for who Seats would be related to. We thought, well, it must be either a descendant of Allosaurus or an early precursor to T-Rex. Well, it turns out that Seotc is actually neither of those things. Seotc is actually from a whole new group of dinosaurs that's never been discovered before in North America. It's kind of a mouthful, but we call them neovenatorids. And they've been known from all other continents across the globe, but we had never found one here in the States, so we're very excited about that. The other really exciting thing about Seotc is that we actually have the bones and teeth of tiny tyrannosaurs living in the same environments as Seotc. And these guys would have been like jackals around a lion kill. They would have been no more than a nuisance to Seotc, but it's a very important discovery for us. What it tells us is that in the same ecosystem where we have these colossal neovenatorids like Seotc, we have tiny little tyrannosaurs that were about the size of a dog. It wasn't until animals like Seotc went extinct in North America that these little tyrannosaurs were able to evolve into the large predators that we know and love and fill those vacant slots in Cretaceous ecosystems. Now, what else are we finding alongside of Seotc? We're not just interested in the dinosaurs, even though I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. We want to know about the entire ecosystem, everything that was living alongside this great animal. And to do that, we're studying the tiny fossils. So we don't just want to find those big dinosaurs. We want to find tiny fossils, things that you can hold in your hand, or sometimes fossils you can only see under the microscope. And that helps us fill in the whole ecosystem where Seotc lived. We have turtles in this ecosystem and frogs, we have lizards, we have early mammals, and we have a whole variety of crocodiles. We even have some crocodile bite marks on the bones of Seotc, so it looks like Seotc, after it died, was lunch for one of these crocodiles. Well, we go out to the area where we found Seotc every year. We launch expeditions from right here at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, and you can follow along with us every summer. We have not only found all these small animals in this area, but we have a whole new suite of new dinosaurs that'll be coming out over the next 3 to 5 years. And we're really excited to sort of continually announce all the different new dinosaurs that come from this totally unknown ecosystem. You can follow along with us live. We tweet, we blog from the field at Expedition Live. And also, we do something pretty great and innovative here at the museum. We actually bring you live video feed from the field. So next summer, when we're out digging in the rocks where we found Seotc, you can come here to the Daily Planet, and you can see me looking all dirty and smelly, actually talking to you from the field sites where we're actively digging up the bones of these animals. And I have to say, paleontology is a team science. We have dozens of people who not only contributed to the excavation of this animal, but to the incredible preparation and the research. I want to find Lisa Herzog, who's in the audience today, who not only helped us excavate Seotc, but also helped us prepare the bones, and Dr. Terry Gates, who's a research associate here, who also did some of the hard labor to get this animal out of the ground. And I have to finally acknowledge the Bureau of Land Management. We work very closely with these folks, Mike Lashin and Rebecca, and these people are charged with protecting our fossil resources out west. If it weren't for these people, we would never be able to collect these animals and bring them to the museum and ultimately bring dinosaurs like Seotc to you all. Please come up and take a look at the bones of Seotc if you haven't seen them, and I will be around for a bit to take any questions you guys have, and thank you so much for coming this morning.
Thank you, Lindsay. We've got a little bit of time here and wondered if we've got some questions from the audience, especially our younger members, about this fantastic new discovery. Back here.
How can you tell that it was a juvenile dinosaur?
How can we tell it's a juvenile dinosaur? Well, actually, if you come on up and look at these bones, what happens as an animal is growing is that it has pieces of its bones that that stay separate so that that animal can grow bigger. And once it gets to about full size, those pieces of those bones will fuse together. So what we have with Seots is we have bones from its back where the bottom part and the top part are not fused yet. And that's because Seots was actively growing bigger. Once he stopped growing, or she stopped growing, those bones would have fused together. So that's how we know it was a juvenile.
Yes, sir.
How exactly do you know that, wait, no, actually, how many bones did you find?
How many bones did we found? Well, we found bones from the neck and the back and the tail of this animal, from the lower leg and from the pelvis. And we have some teeth that we think can be referred to see-atch. They're not very large. Unlike tyrannosaurs that had those giant banana teeth, these neovenatorids had pretty slender knife-like teeth.
Lindsay, what percentage of the bone structure was that? Roughly?
Oh, we probably have a very low amount, maybe 15, 20% of the skeleton. And that may seem insignificant. It's not as if we have a whole Seotc we can put on display, but the bones are enough to tell us about the existence of a whole new group of dinosaurs. So you don't always need a whole animal to make a big impact.
Yes.
How do you know the bite marks are from a crocodile?
How do we know the bite marks are from a crocodile? Well, we can match the bite marks up with all the different kinds of teeth that we find in the rocks around Seotc, and we can see that these are conical bite marks. They're very round, and those are the types of teeth that the crocodiles had that were living there.
Other questions? Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
What does the name mean?
Great question. Seotc is actually something we adopted from a Native American legend. So the bones were found in Utah. There's a tribe called the Ute tribe nearby, and they actually have this legend about a man-eating monster that would sneak into people's homes at night and devour them. And we thought that was a fantastic name for our new giant predator.
And some others?
Questions up high?
Sure, there's some curiosity. Yes, sir. I'll be right there.
I was wondering if Seots would eat any of these other tyrannosaurs right here.
Oh, would these tyrannosaurs have been a lunch for Seotc? You know, if I were a big predator, I probably wouldn't go after little predators because they also have really sharp teeth and claws. I think Seotc would probably have eaten a lot of the big, nice, chunky plant eaters. We had early duckbills and long-necked dinosaurs that were living alongside of Seotc, and so they probably made an easier meal for this animal.
Oh, looks like one down front here. Nope, it's just a stretch. Oh, here's a gentleman.
Did Seotc eat the thing that he's stepping on?
Ah, yes. Actually, this is an illustration showing Seotc preying on an animal called Eolambia. And Eolambia was the big plant-eating duckbill type dinosaur that lived. And we have lots of bones from Eolambia that we've collected up in the prep lab upstairs. So you can come see us preparing away some of the Eolambia bones.
Some others? I'll come back.
If the little tyrannosaurs weren't lunch for Seotc, why weren't they able to evolve into the big Tyrannosaurus until Seotc was dead?
So the idea here is that Seotc was so big and intimidating and was the major predator on all these large animals that tyrannosaurs really couldn't compete with that. They kind of lived in the shadows of animals like Seotc. But when animals like Seotc went extinct and there was nobody eating the big dinosaurs anymore, that gave tyrannosaurs the opportunity to step up and evolve bigger size and put pressure on them to become big and become the big predators in the environment.
How do you know that Seotc ate the Tyrannosaurs?
Oh, we don't have any evidence that Seotc ate the Tyrannosaurs, and the way we figure out those predator-prey relationships, like what did Seotc eat, is by studying the bones. And when we see tooth marks or bite marks on those bones, then we know for sure that that animal ate that other animal. Other than that, it's speculation based on what we know about living ecosystems. The large predators would have eaten the large herbivores.
I think we have one over here.
What made you want to become an archaeologist?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
What made you want to become a paleontologist?
Oh, what made me want to become a paleontologist? You know, I'm just fascinated by the idea that long time ago if you could stand here in one place and you could have time reverse all the way back to the Cretaceous, and you open your eyes, it would be a totally different world. And that world was real, and it was right here in the same spot that we now stand. And I find that really, really fascinating. And I love to go out and have that moment of discovery, like when we found Seotc, and you're traipsing through the hot sun for weeks on end, and you don't know if you're ever going to find anything, and then you see that little bit of fossil bone sticking out of that hill, and you start digging in, and you go, yes, this is a whole new animal that nobody knows about yet, and you're the first person to see it in 98 million years, the only person to ever see it. That's a really good feeling, and that keeps us energetic about what we do every day.
Lindsay, you may have touched on this, but I remember you saying that you knew right away that this was something brand new, never seen before. What was the key to that?
Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest, we expected that whatever we found in that 60 million year gap had to be something new. It's just not possible that those animals can survive for that long. But we knew it was a predatory dinosaur because of the bones themselves. So if you think about a bird bone, it's very thin and hollow on the inside. Birds are just living theropod dinosaurs, and even dinosaurs like Siats have the same structure to their bones. So you can often tell you have a predator just by having a fragment of bone this big, just by the way that that bone looks.
Anybody else? Oh, yes, right here.
What was your first dinosaur you ever found?
Oh, the first dinosaur I ever found was very special to me out in a different area of Utah. Was a dinosaur called Parasaurolophus. Anybody know Parasaurolophus? I know, Jack, and you guys do. Yeah, Parasaurolophus is a super cool plant-eating dinosaur that had this 3-foot-long crest on the back of its head. It took its 2 little nose bones, so take your little nose bones and stretch them 3 feet behind your head, turn them around, bring them back around, and reconnect them here. And that's what Parasaurolophus looked like. So that was a fun discovery for me.
We do a couple more. We got one back here.
Any speculation as to what caused Seots to become extinct?
I have a couple of ideas. So at this time, the climate in North America was changing. Sea level was rising. It was getting a lot hotter. And there's a seaway. Basically, the water from the Gulf of Mexico started flooding onto the continent of North America and ultimately dividing it into 2 land masses. So Seots is one of the last dinosaurs that was living in this area before it was underwater. So there was a lot of climate change going on. And Seots also probably preyed on big, long-necked dinosaurs, and they also disappeared at exactly the same time. So either it was that their prey was going extinct and that's what took them down, or that climate change was affecting all the ecosystem as a whole.
Okay, one more down front here.
So you said you found it in 2008. You've been sitting on this information for a long time. Is it hard to keep that a secret? And at what point do you know it's time to talk about it?
It's extremely hard to keep it a secret, and that's why I chose to take this job. Because at this job, instead of having to wait 5 years to tell you all about this discovery, the discoveries that we made last year, we told people right away. People who were sitting in this Daily Planet, we said, we just found a new dinosaur locality. And then every week I get to come up here and I get to tell people about the process of how the science is going. Here's what we discovered this week. Oh no, we learned that was wrong. Here's what we discovered this week. And so instead of having to wait those 5 years now to just announce to you the results of what we find, here at this museum we found a way to bring you into the process along the whole way. So I get to talk about it from step 1 all the way through the whole process. You get to watch the bones being prepared, and you get to learn about it. And you won't be the last people to know anymore as North Carolinians.
I'd like to ask everyone to hang for just one more quick comment, but before that, if we could all just thank Lindsay for what she does here and for this groundbreaking discovery that we get to learn about right here. And I want to bring Dr. Koster back up for a quick thought.
Thank you very much, Mark. Mark Johnson is the Director of External Affairs, and one of the themes that Lindsay's been highlighting is this analogy between biodiversity in the past and biodiversity at present. And one of the main principles of geology that was enunciated more than 200 years ago is the present is the key to the past. And more we would say the present is the key to the future as well. And Lindsay mentioned the connection with birds, that out of the era of dinosaurs, there arose small 2-legged dinosaurs that some of them began to have feathers, and out of that dinosaur evolution emerged the evolution of birds, Well, as you may know, and this is my parting comment to you, is to make the connection that on the second floor of the other wing of this museum is from National Geographic, an exhibition that will be here until mid-March called Amazing Avian Evolution, the story of phenomenal birds from New Guinea in Southeast Asia that were first discovered by the Magellan expeditions of the 1500s, where they thought that they had discovered the Garden of Eden, and the birds that are actually descendants of pretty ordinary-looking starlings and crows would emerge in a special area of very few predators into birds that have amazing plumage and patterns of behavior. So in the context of this morning's announcement that takes us back tens and tens of millions of years, have a look, if not today, in the months ahead, at Amazing Avian Evolution from the National Geographic Society that's on display as our featured exhibition, as well as an expedition, until next March. But again, congratulations, Lindsay. Thank you very much. Please come up and have a look at the
you all for
remains.
coming.